Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're kind of in a interesting place. It's where the northern Pacific Ocean meets Vancouver Island, and I specifically wanted to look at the kind of the zone right next to the shore and what lives there and what it does kind of for the rest of the inland forests. As you can see here, it's right beachside. We have it's kind of a heavy swell period, major storms out in the Pacific. It's mid-November, so I guess that's kind of the storm season in this area. But I wanted to show kind of the harshness of this area, the heavy winds, salt spray, and you can actually see the salt spray coming off the waves in the sun there. All that's salty kind of mist is moving inland, and what we have here is kind of our tree that we want to highlight. It's the Sitka Spruce. Now this area also has Pinus contorta, I believe it's called, which is a variation of lodgepole pine. Interestingly enough, this is a very different kind of environment than we're used to seeing lodgepole pine in, that's for sure. So but yeah, kind of we're in an area here where it's a cut into the forest. It's like a pathway, so it gives us kind of the perfect window in. You can see the very leading edge of these trees are distorted, almost similar to what you'd see in like a subalpine or near tree line kind of scenario. The Sitka Spruce, when it gets into kind of the more rainforest environment, it's only a couple hundred meters or 100 meters even inland, is a rainforest giant, reaching 85 meters, approaching, what is that, 290, 300 feet, something like that. So as you can see, it's a very big difference right in this area, as a large wave just kind of washed almost into the forest here. And I think that this would be a fairly common occurrence near high tide in these stormy times. So these trees are real survivors, have a lot to contend with. But right from the leading edge here, as we move in, we can see it's almost like a wedge. The heights keep going up. The trees get a little sturdier, a little less contorted, it's kind of a real impressive thing that they're able to kind of withstand this. And there's a few kind of grasses and things like that are salt and wind tolerant, and I believe it's called salal. It's pretty much everywhere in this environment here. You can see these green leaves there. And another great example of kind of the contorted and twisted by the wind Sitka spruce. So let's have a look into the forest and kind of see what we can see here. Okay, so as we come in from the wave beach zone here, as you can still see out there, it doesn't take long for these trees to kind of regain normal form for them, which is kind of a tall, slender, sturdy type tree. Only inland, maybe 20-30 meters, we have trees probably reaching in that 100-foot zone, something like that. The trunk diameter fairly rapidly increases as we come in from the I'll kind of back up here into these smaller, more twisted forms here, as you can see, twisted by the wind. But it's just like, I don't believe these are young trees in any way. Hard to tell what the age would be, but just the density of the branches is amazing. Almost make like a canopy as they kind of are pushed inland. But as we move in, you can see it's very quickly just turned into what you would think of a normal Sitka spruce. Here we have one with a fairly decent diameter here. I'll just walk up to it here. So this one here probably has, I don't know, 20, let's be about 28 inches or so, which is, I don't know, 80 centimeters or something like that diameter, maybe into the 100-foot range. So very rapidly turning into kind of a normal size Sitka spruce. We're going to have a look at some of the cones and some of the needles, what makes a Sitka spruce a little bit different. It's actually the tallest spruce in the world, as far as I know, and the largest diameter as well. So let's have a look at some cones and the needles and see what makes it different. Another look at the kind of the forest zone here. As you can see, that this really highlights kind of the salt spray that blows through here, and the mist. As we look into the sun, you can really see it. But just a beautiful spot, and one it seems like it's rarer and rarer, because some of these beachside spots, obviously they're fairly popular for people like myself who like to stay in the area, and they are, I guess, in areas endangered from resort development, this type of thing. But anytime you have an amazing area like this, it's, people want to go and see. So okay, so just looking at, here's a lower branch on a mature tree, so an older branch. Some of the needles that we can see here, very spruce-like, similar to any other type of spruce, prickly, and I guess if we can make that focus, I'm not sure if we can. There we go. And just like a spruce, kind of four-sided, rolls in the fingers, not like a fir, not flat. So yeah, very similar, and just a real survivor in this area. As you can see, there's a little bit of cedar. This would be western red cedar. Cedar is a little more sensitive to the salt, so it prefers a little bit inland. This is an extremely high rainfall area, probably the wettest in Canada, or among it anyway. This is the west coast of Vancouver Island again. So, and these trees, as well as, and the cedars become a little more dominant, and hemlock as we move inland. But these trees, the Sitka spruce, also are very prevalent in the inland rainforest as we move in, and we'll have a look at some of those areas as well. And that's kind of where the tree really comes into its own, where it's an enormous rainforest giant. So we'll have a look at those as well. Okay, so we have a Sitka spruce cone fallen from the tree, maybe I would say this year, being November. Maybe they drop in sometime September, August, something like that. But you can see it's a very rough cone, and the shapes are a little bit variable, not round, and as we get towards the base of the cone, they get a little more pointed. But it's kind of distinct from other species in the area. Just the look of it is a little bit different, as you can see. Here's a great example of an old growth Sitka spruce, right next to kind of a small river. and some very large cedars. As you can see, the cedar here beside, and the Sitka spruce, this enormous tree reaching up into the canopy, and I believe is the tallest tree in this little spot. Just huge. And you can see the large buttressed roots as they come out from the tree, and they are big. This may be a meter or 3 feet from this little hollow here. This would certainly be more than a meter wide, maybe, you know, maybe even 1.5 meters wide. So, you know, 4 or 5 feet. Just huge. So just in contrast with what we saw on the shoreline, something like this, covered in moss, epiphytes and whatever else grows on it up on the upper branches. You can see there's ferns. So we can zoom in there. Ferns growing in the moss. Yeah, just an incredible example of a very large Sitka spruce. This is in from the ocean, a couple of kilometers, in the rainforest, in a spot that hasn't been logged, with some very large old growth trees. And this is the kind of place where you find the large Sitka spruce among the cedar and hemlocks and Anobis fir and things like that.